So welcome back, Sri Gurubhyo Namaha. So we were beginning with the first verse of Bhakti Yoga, that is which begins with a question from Arjuna, who says, "Evam satata yuktaye bhakta swam paryupasate ye chapraksharam avyaktam tesham ke yoga vittama." So this is the very first word, or this is the very first verse of this Bhakti Yoga. Evam satata yukta. Evam means in this fashion or in this manner, continuously who worship, that is Evam satata yukta. Satata means constantly who worship, that is Bhakta Swam, devotees, Paryupasate, that is Pari Upasate, who constantly worship me, that is ए चाप्यक्षरम अव्यक्तम तेषाम के योग वित्तमाः. That is, Arjuna asks Lord Sri Krishna, "Oh Lord Sri Krishna, please explain to me. There are two types of devotees. One is the devotees who worship directly you, and there are other categories of the devotees who worship avyakta. Vyakta means what can be seen. Avyakta means what cannot be seen. That is avyakta. That is, as we say, nirguna. That is nirakara. God is compared to a sky because which is very vast, and then which has which penetrates everywhere. So there are people who worship God without any particular statue in front of them or without any form in front of them, and there are people who worship you in some forms. They may worship in the form of a Lord Shankara, they may worship in the form of a Hanuman, they may worship in the form of a Rama, they may worship in the form of a Krishna. It can be anything. Some worship something which is beyond this form, some worship in the form. So who is superior to one amongst these devotees? So we have seen this devotion, 9 types of devotion. Now Arjuna is getting a doubt that out of these two categories of the devotees, which is better one? Whether to worship the Lord, something like a sky which has no form, to worship, whether this is superior. Like many yogis, they worship in meditation. They sit on the Himalayas and they worship. There is no such statue or anything like that. Whether that is superior, or those who worship the Lord in their statues, it may be Rama or Krishna or whatever the statue that they have in front of them, or in a temple, or a goddess Jagadamba, or whatever the goddess they have, Lakshmi or Parvati. Whether this is superior, that is what is the question of this Arjuna. Then Lord Sri Krishna says, as an answer, Maya Vesha Manoemam Nityayukta Upasate Shraddhaya Paryo Petaste Me Yuktatama Mataha. Lord Sri Krishna says, those who worship me by placing their minds in me, that is, they are the best ones when compared to those who worship without any form. Why? I will again, he only reveals in the further verses, that is, etvaksharam anirdeshyam avyaktam paryupasate sarvatra gamachintancha kutastam achalam dhruvam sanniyam mendriyagramam sarvatra samabuddhayaha te prapnuvanti mameva sarvabhuta hite rataha. Then he says, I will explain because they are all connected. I am reading continuously. क्लेशोदिकतरस्तेषाम अव्यक्ता सक्तचेतसाम अव्यक्ता ही गतिर दुःखम देहवत् गिरव्याप्यते. I will tell the meanings of this one. Now Lord says that there are two types of worshippers are there, as per this Arjuna or as per the Lord Sri Krishna also, who worship in the form, who worship without any form. They see in their own atmas, or in their heart, or in their mind, or their resort to the woods and pray in some caves, deep caves where nothing is there. So that is one category of worship. Worshipping Lord in some form is another kind of worship. So we are discussing only this devotion, bhakti only. So which is superior, or which is the better path? That is what is the question of Arjuna. Now Lord Sri Krishna says, worshipping in a form is superior. than worshipping without form. So why it is so? Whether any difference in fruits is there or attainment of salvation, any difference is there? Lord says both will attain the same salvation. Whether you worship me in a form, even if you worship me without any form, the final moksha or salvation is the same. Then again the doubt comes, what is the difference then? If both are same, why you are telling that worshipping you is supreme, then worshipping without the form? Because final fruit is same. Then Lord Sri Krishna says, Kleshodikataraste. Klesha means troubles. Troubles are more in worshipping without any form. What are those troubles? Suppose a person has gone to woods or forest for worshipping, that he decides that yes, I will become a sannyasi and I will go to forest and then I will do meditation in a forest or a cave. So what are the risks involved? He has to sacrifice everything. He has to renunciate everything and then walk into the woods or forest. Forest has so many other complications. That is, there is no proper shelter, there is no proper clothing, there is no provision for any cooked food or cooking of the food, or there is no such source of a water. Even if he gets everything, there is a risk of the wild animals is there. Risk from any of these reptiles is there, snakes or scorpions or insects, or so much of trouble is there in that path. So that is why it is not easy. Whereas worshipping in the form, you can worship from the comfort of your home, you can worship from the comfort of your air conditioned room, from wherever you want you can worship. This is one difficulty. Another difficulty is that somebody may go to the some mountains or Himalayas. There he has to bear the severe extreme cold. That is, he has to bear the extreme cold, he has to bear the rains, he has to bear the open sunlight, and he has to bear so many troubles of all other nature that it may be very harsh for his body. If a person is strong enough, then only he can sustain all these things. Suppose if person is not a strong enough person, then you can imagine even by the first rain itself, again he will catch a flu or anything, and his health may deteriorate or he may become totally bedridden. If severe harsh sunrise or sun is there, his body may not tolerate that harsh sun which is in the open, or he may not get proper food. Suppose if we don't get food for 3 to 4 hours, we feel so much discomfortable or hungry. And suppose if a person goes to the woods, he may not get food not for one day but for days together. He may not get a source of water, he may not get any shelter, there are thorns around, there is no proper place to sleep for him, the ground is uneven, the caves may be very risky and dark, there is no source of light, there is so much of difficulties around. It may be the mountains, it may be the forest, it may be the caves. That is only one who has that much of energy, that much of determination, because first he may go to the Himalayas for 3 days and then he may say that it's enough, I want to come back to my house. That much determination may not be possible by everybody. So that is what is the marga of yoga. So that is what people do in yoga marga. That is, they sit around the fire. That is called panchagni. They place fire on almost 4 or 5 sides, sit within it, and then they start worshipping. They have to bear that intense heat. Some dig themselves into the soil neck deep, and then they start worshipping, which is so difficult. Then somebody may sit in the water, neck deep water, and then they worship there, which is again very difficult pathway. There will be a lot of thorns, there will be a lot of difficulties. So he has to face all these difficulties. Again, any slightest deviation of the mind or slightest waving of the mind, again the person is back to the home and he has defeated his purpose itself. That is what is klesho dikataraste. Adhika means more. There are more troubles in that form. Only very few countable people can achieve that one. Not all. It is not definitely not meant for all. Again, suppose if he goes to the woods and forest and he keeps on thinking about your family, about his house or his property, purpose is defeated. Because the person who is going to the woods, he goes with his mind only. He goes to caves, his mind is present. If the mind constantly revolves around the food or around his family, around his property, or around all those things, then the very purpose is defeated. That means he has lost the family and property and this worldly pleasure. He has lost that devotion or attainment of salvation also. That is two sides. He will lose from both ends. So that is why it is more of klesha, more of difficulty. It only looks very glorious that person has gone to woods or he has gone to Himalayas and is praying. It's not that easy path. It's a very tough. 99.9% they fall prey and they are defeated very much. Somebody may die in the middle. Somebody may be defeated in his purpose, or something else can happen. Very hardly one person may attain that path or salvation through that path. Salvation is quite possible. Both this worshipping in form and worshipping without form, they will attain. Another risk God tells in this one, in forest, what will happen when a person starts again meditating. Suppose some person is strong enough and has lot of willpower and has started his meditation. So the moment of his penance or tapasya, he attains. What happens is he starts attaining that power and starts attaining extra knowledge or superhuman powers. The superhuman powers can be anything. That is, he may see the future of a person. Suddenly, if he sees a person, he can predict the future of that person. He may enter into the past, he may enter into the future, or he may see so many other things, or he may see hidden treasure that is there around, lying around there. Huge treasure may be there because he gets that Divya Drishti, that supreme vision he gets. That is, now his vision has become so supreme that he can trace the wealth wherever he wants. Then his ears have become supreme, his mind has become supreme that he can predict the future of anything. So what will happen is he will not stop with that one. He wants to now exhibit into the world. He wants to come back and shows to the world that, see, this is the power I have gained. See, now I can tell your future, and that he may start trading for the money or wealth. People will start running behind him as a guru, or they may call him as a mentor, and they will say that, please tell my future, please see my hand, please tell what will happen, whether I will get promotion or not, whether I will get increment or not, what is my future, whether I will become a minister or not. So this fellow is tempted by this, all that money and everything. What was his purpose of going to the caves and the woods? It was to attain the supreme feet of Lord or salvation or get that supreme knowledge. But what has happened? He has ended up in ordinary things. That is, telling some political leader what is his future. He has ended up in telling some businessman to tell what to do to make more money. And then he has ended up in telling that here is a treasure that is lying in your house. You dig and you will get so much of treasure. Or he may end up in telling so many some nuisance or something like that. That is, will glorify himself, will glorify his knowledge, will glorify, he becomes an exhibitionist. The moment he has become an exhibitionist, it indicates he has started losing his all the power that he has gained. It is like money. That virtues or tapasya, penance brings lot of money. So that money when he gains, suppose if I keep on spending that money wherever I want, so on Tom and Dick and Harry and then on pleasures, that means I have lost my money. I have gained the money with so much of trouble. So with so much of hard work, I have gained that money. I have earned that money with spending day and night in the business, and I have made that money. Now what I am doing, I am throwing that money wherever I want. I am spending it lavishly. That means I have lost. I have become empty-handed. Same thing will happen in this path of devotion. If a person goes to woods or person goes to Himalayas, that is, the moment he starts, maybe after 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, he starts getting supreme powers, or he starts getting this on the path. It's not supreme knowledge. On the path to that supreme knowledge, he starts getting all those things. Like a simple example, suppose if you are growing a jawar in your fields, what we get? We get a beautiful plant of jawar, and top we get a shoot. No person on this earth will sow the jawar to get a stem. He is all interested in that shoot and the jawar only, or millets only. That is, purpose is to grow the millets, not to grow that plant. Whether plant is there or not, I am least bothered. Whether it has stem or not, I am least bothered. Even if the plant is of 1 feet height, I want a lot of jawar or millets from this one. But what happens? Purpose is Jawar. Free gift is our stem. He has not made any efforts for that stem, but stem is coming as a free gift for that one. So that is the person who is going to the woods and wants to attain that supreme salvation. His purpose is that supreme salvation, but where he has ended in this stem only. That is, his purpose has become that stem only, not the Jawar. So with that, he has become an exhibitionist. He is now exhibiting his supreme powers that he has gained. Maybe he is talking to animals, maybe he is talking to the birds, maybe he is predicting the future of a person, maybe he is predicting the treasury that is present. So that means he is losing whatever he has earned. That is, he is after that stem because it is very much attractive. So that is why Lord Krishna says, Klesho hi kataraste. That is, lot of troubles are there in this path. Very few again in that stick on that one, neglect that one, and then they get that Jawar or what is their purpose. Or simple, another example is we grow sugar cane. Why we want to grow sugar cane? We want sugar. We want jaggery. But what is the free gift of that one? Molasses is a free gift. We don't make any efforts for that one. Molasses, even in guitar also, that gets fermented and it forms the alcohol. It's a free gift. Our purpose is jaggery. Our purpose is mainly sugar, not that molasses. But molasses is a free gift. So if we end up in molasses, what can happen? We will miss that sugar or jaggery. Same thing will happen here. That is, person who has resigned to the woods, person who has resigned to the caves and the Himalayas. What will happen? He will end up in these worldly attractions and then comes back to the world and starts exhibiting and attaining those trivial powers, or what we call that he will get anima, mahima, lagima, so many powers. He can hold the fire in his hand, he can walk on the water, he can do so many miracles, he can talk to honeybees, collect the honey without getting bitten by them. So all this is quite possible. It will come like just an ordinary gift for him, but that fellow is attracted in that one and he loses his main aim or goal, that is attainment of that particular supreme soul. So this is the loss, this is the trouble that is there in the path. If a person is still determined to attain that supreme power, that in spite of all these troubles, then he can attain that salvation. But however, path is very tough. That is why Lord Sri Krishna says, that is klesho di katavaste, that is, there are more troubles in this path than worshipping in the form. Then what about worshipping in the form? Now I am worshipping this particular, or many yogis you might have seen or you might have come across, they do a lot of yoga, meditation and attain something, and their body cannot bear those energies. Many have gone mad. Many have become berserk. They have been hospitalized. That is, they have started behaving crazily. That is, their purpose was attainment of God, but the energy that was generated, they could not tolerate. Like in a small 40 watt bulb, if you run 440 watt, it gets immediately blasted. So this fellow's capacity was very less, but he attained the powers. He cannot hold the powers. As very ordinary person, if he becomes a multi-billionaire or gets a lottery of some 10 crore rupees instantly, you can imagine the condition of that fellow. He almost goes mad. Because he has never seen, he's a beggar, he has never seen that much money, but by seeing so much money, he has gone mad. So this can happen, he can go berserk. Now another path, that is devotion in a particular statue. So why Lord is recommending this one? Because he says it is an easy path. It is almost like a ripe banana, you simply have to peel and eat it. So there in yoga path, what is happening? If somebody is not performing that particular yoga, or it misfires, he is at a great disaster. But suppose if somebody is in the path of this devotion in a particular form, what will happen? Suppose I am doing particular worship in Lord Krishna's worship, let me say. I am worshipping it. I get a phone call on my mobile. I leave the worship, I take the phone call, I speak to my friend, then again I start again worshipping. There is no loss. I have not become mad. I have not lost my mental balance. Or somebody calls from outside, again I go, I talk to that person and again come back, again start continue my worship. There in the path of yoga, this will never happen. Suppose if the powers that he has attained, any moment he will become berserk or he will go mad, or there is more chance of slipping from the path that he has attained, or he will deviate from the path that he wanted to. Manushyanam sahasreshu kaschit yatati siddhaye yatataamapi siddhanam kaschinmam vetti tattvataha. This is from Bhagavad Gita only, wherein Lord says, if thousands are on my path, out of thousands, very few hundreds will start falling in my path. Out of hundreds, very countable number will come close to me. Out of that countable numbers, hardly one may try to understand me. Suppose if we take a population of tens of lakhs, maybe countable people will really understand me. That is why we have more of common men, few of enlightened men. Every city, every village will have only one saint, one or two saints. They are countable in number. You can trace them by their names or their addresses. Whereas common man is in hundreds or in millions, or every city has more than 10 or 15 lakh population. But if you start searching for a real saint, you will get hardly 10 or 15 people, or maybe 4 or 5 people. So that is what is the risk. So that is what is this pathway all speaks about, or devotion about. Then what are the advantages of the path? And Lord says that it is a very simple path. As I was telling the example, that when I am worshipping, I get a phone call, I get up. Or I have started worshipping something, I feel so much hungry, then I ask, give me a cup of milk, then I will drink. Again I will start worshipping. There is no loss to anybody. That is, you can attain the salvation playfully. It is a playful attainment. Very casually we can attain that supreme power, or that salvation that we wanted. So it is from the comfort of our home, from the comfort zones, and then from our maybe air conditioned chambers, we can attain so casually. When something is so easily available, by staying in our house, by staying with our wife, children, and brother and mother, father, family, we can attain this salvation. So why to go to the woods, or why to resign ourselves to these Himalayas? So this is advantage that Lord is speaking. So that is why Lord says that instead of that avyakta upasana, this upasana is quite superior, or this is supreme, because it is very easy to follow, or very simple path to follow. Now what is the difference? Then why still, when so much easy path is available, why there are some people still they want to go to forest, still they want to go to Himalayas and pray? Lord says, of course, when risk is more, all business people will be knowing, more the risk, more the gains, more the benefits. When risk is more, definitely benefit is also more. There what is happening? He has gone towards, within a few months, he has attained all the superpowers, wherein he can hold a fire, he can hold or walk on the waters, or he can bear that extreme colds, he can walk barefooted on that ice. Everything is that he will start attaining. That is, gain is also more. More gain is there. Here, gain is very slow. It is on a tortoise, but path is very safe. There, he will get instantly or immediately, relatively immediately. But risk is, he will deviate. All chances he will deviate from the path. Here, there are all chances that he will attain that salvation, and there is no question of any falling down. Even if I leave my today morning's prayer, suppose I have taken a vote to visit a temple every Saturday, Hanuman temple. I don't visit this Saturday. Hello, I think I'm audible. Okay. So that is what Lord was speaking about. What are the advantages of worshipping a supreme Lord in a statue, in a temple, or somewhere in a form, and risk and benefits of worshipping a particular Lord in an avyakta form, or in an formless form. So that is what are the advantages and disadvantages. This is one of the simplest explanations of this devotion, wherein another explanation of another saint, which is also quite interesting. That is, which says that there are two types. One is avyakta. Avyakta means a formless. That means for any formless, there is one deity or a supreme authority is there for that particular concept in our mythology. That is, suppose if I want to take a bath in Ganga, then I believe that there is a deity called Ganga who will clear me from my sins, or all those this one that has been accumulated. So that is my concept. It is the same water. Water in Ganga is also H2O. Water in my borewell is also H2O. Water in a lake is also H2O only. But many people go to that Haridwara or that Rishikesh or Varanasi and then take a dip and consider themselves that their entire life now they has been fructified because they took a dip in Ganga water. The same water they can take a dip in their house also or in a well also. But we believe that there is a deity who has made that Ganga water this one. Now many people think. Now many people think that what you are talking, you are speaking of river, it's only H2O. It's only H2O. What is that you are speaking that there is something a deity is there, or if you take a dip, who will notice your dip? As we have never seen any god in or deity in the water. This is quite a simple logic. Because in the Sanskrit, plenty of places we get the words like apo bravit, mruto bravit, that means bravit, that means water was speaking, that then earth was speaking. So any person with simple logic or a common sense will say, how can a earth speak? How can a water speak? They don't speak. We also know that we are facing some net difficulties. Anyway, we will try to again continue with this one. So apo bravit, that means water was speaking. So any person with a simple schooling knowledge, he knows that how a water can speak, or this one. That is very simple logic. That suppose if a vegetable vendor or a ice cream vendor is passing through from your house, you are in your house and the vegetable vendor has crossed your house. Now you don't know who is that vegetable vendor is. You don't know his name or her name. So what he will do? Suppose if you want to that banana, you want to buy that banana or ice cream or something, what he will shout? He will shout, "Oh, ice cream! Hey, ice cream!" Whether ice cream will answer? Ice cream will not answer. You will suppose if you shout, "Hey, vegetables!" or "Oh, vegetables!" Vegetables will not answer. That means it is what is answering. There is some person who is owning that vegetables. There is some person who is owning that fruit. There is some person who is owning that answer, that ice cream. He will respond, "Yes, sir, I am coming with the ice cream. Yes, I am coming with these fruits." That means there is somebody diet or deity who is authority or owning that power. So that is how in Gangas also or Ganges also we feel that there is some deity who is controlling that one. So that is why if we say apo bravit, that means it is the owner of that one or the supreme deity of that one. She is answering that one. So as a vegetable vendor, even if you call him by vegetables, he will respond very promptly and come back to you and sell his vegetables. So like that also, here also, when we address something, that means there is a deity. So now there is a deity of Ganga we have seen. There is deity for air we know. There is a deity for fire we know. Isn't it? Anila is there, Anala is there. There is a deity for the earth, Dhara Devi is there. Or there is a deity for the skies, that is Lord Ganesha is there. So they are all deities for a particular thing. There is a deity for the hands, there is a deity for the leg, there is a deity for our ears, there is a deity for our eyes. Lord Surya is a deity of our eyes because he makes us capable of seeing. We have Ashwini gods who are deities of our ears. Like that, we have so many deities which control that particular faculty or that activity. Like that, there is a deity of this Avyakta, a formless or this entire cosmos. That Avyakta form deity is Goddess Lakshmi. So that is why she is one of the deities. Now the question is, Arjuna is asking whether should we worship Goddess Lakshmi. From what we have seen, discussed about yogis and the worshippers, now we have come down to Goddess Lakshmi, whether we should worship Goddess Lakshmi or whether we should worship Lord Sri Krishna. Now Lord Sri Krishna says, my worship is superior than worshipping the Goddess Lakshmi, because my path is very easy and path of Goddess Lakshmi is very much troublesome. That is Avyakta, that is formless. So this is how wonderfully one of the saints writes about this one. And direct names may not be there. You may see that, sir, where, because you are a deity of Lord Sri Krishna, that is why you are telling about Lakshmi and all those things. Where you show me in the 12th chapter, even a single name that says that it is Goddess Lakshmi. So here is the first, this one, chap aksharam avyaktam. Yesterday only I have seen in Purushottama Yoga, we have seen akshara. Goddess Lakshmi is called as Akshara, a masculine gender, because she has capability like Mahishasura Mardini or Durga Devi. She is capable of destroying the demons. So that is why she is also referred by masculine gender Akshara. So first question of Arjuna itself says that Evam Satata Yukta ye Bhaktas Tvam Paryupasate e chap Aksharam Avyaktam Tesham ke Yoga Vittamaha. That means he is directly asking whether should we worship you or should we worship Goddess Lakshmi, because he has used two words, Akshara and Avyakta. Akshara is the name of a goddess Lakshmi itself. Avyakta means which is without any forms, because she owns, as we have seen, the goddess of Ganges is goddess river Ganga is, we have a deity called Ganga, we have Dhara Devi, we have Vayu Deva, we have fire god, everything, they are all gods for us only, or there is some deity who is controlling them and who is helping us through that one, or he responds when we call say fire, fire, that means fire will not give answer to us. It is the fire god who answers. That is why in Homa, when we lit up the fire, we put everything in fire only. We put the fruits, we put the argya, everything is put in the fire only, with the belief that the god who is there in that fire will carry these things to the Supreme Lord. So that is the concept of our Hinduism. So that is what is the Bhakti Yoga. So by using two terms, Arjuna clearly states that it is Akshara, that is Goddess Lakshmi, and then it is Avyakta, that is who is owning that entire cosmos. Now Lord says that I am beyond these two. I am beyond this both this worldliness as well as this Goddess Lakshmi. I am supreme to everybody. So that is why my worship is more beneficial, more easy than worshipping Goddess Lakshmi. That is, again, if those who worship Goddess Lakshmi, they have to get that salvation only through again Lord Krishna. That is, two persons are now involved. That is, Goddess Lakshmi has to be there to again facilitate a recommending authority that this devotee be given the place in the Vaikuntha or the realm of the God. Whereas Lord Krishna says, I am the owner of that Vaikuntha, I can directly give you. So that is why. So two paths are there, two advantages are there, disadvantages are there. This path of worshipping Lord Sri Krishna is a very playful worship. A very playful worship, a sportful worship, and very casually. Even if I stop, suppose if I am practicing this one from, let us say, 1 year, I am doing, now I lost interest in all that Bhagavad Gita and all. Nothing will happen. Whatever I have accumulated in 1 year, that virtues are due for me. I will not fall from that path. So that is the speciality. Whereas in yoga path, a person is likely to go mad. We have seen even simple pranayams or yoga. I would like to add at this moment also, many a times it so happens that people watch on television and do so many severe pranayams, the Kapalapatis. Please bear in mind that it can suit better to a yogi or who practices celibacy or brahmacharya. Depending on your body capacity, depending on your energies, we have to adapt to this one. Not because somebody is demonstrating them, it's very difficult to digest that one. So that is why, and many people have turned up into nervine cases, and the doctors are unable to diagnose. No CT scan, no MRI machine can detect these faults if we do wrong pranayams. So please bear in mind, they have to be performed with utmost celibacy, brahmacharya, and then we should learn under a mentor or a guru, so that anything is going wrong, again, he is at our help, not by watching only on a television show or somewhere in a movie show. We should not suddenly fall a prey. So that is highly risky one. So this is what I have today spoken about. I have another exactly 3 minutes. I will read out what I have spoken till today. That is up to 6 verse we have seen, and again remaining verses again we will see. I will read out all the verses. Arjuna's questionnaire. एवं सतत युक्ता ये भक्तास्त्वां पर्युपासते ये चाप्यक्षरम अव्यक्तम तेषां के योग वित्तमाः. To this question, Lord says, मय्यावेश मनो ये मां नित्ययुक्ता उपासते श्रद्धया परयोपेतास्ते मे युक्ततमा मताः. एत्वक्षरम निर्देश्यम अव्यक्तम पर्युपासते सर्वत्र गमचिन्त्यं च कूटस्थम अचलम ध्रुवम. सन्नियम्येन्द्रियग्रामं सर्वत्र समबुद्धयः ते प्राप्नुयन्ति मामेव सर्वभूतहिते रताः. Samniyamendriya means all the indriyas, all the special senses we have to keep under our control. Then Lord says, क्लेशोदि कतरस्तेषाम् अव्यक्ता सक्तचेतसाम् अव्यक्ता हि गतिर् दुःखं देहवद् निर्वाप्यते. So this is what we have seen up to, I think, 4 verses we have today dealt with. So instead of again hurrying for whether we can complete everything, it's not